This reward of $25 cash back will help me make $250. If you don't have this, it's because you're being lazy. It's free money. Drunk passengers love it. I've received tips just because it's in my car. See, isn't that a good metric to know how much you're spending on gas for every hour that you work? Oil change, $194.83. Tristan, why are you spending so much on an oil change? Dying underneath a car is at the top of my list of ways not to die. Insurance is gonna get rough. If you have not renewed your insurance for 2024, for January, right? We have all my numbers in, all of my expenses. This part calculates how much money I truly walked away with after taxes and expenses. With January being wrapped up, I've finally completed all my expenses and income. But before I go through the spreadsheet that I made, I'm going to quickly go through my weekly summaries in the app because I'm often accused of lying. So I like to show as much proof as possible, even if it is redundant. So I apologize for that. So starting, my first night driving was New Year's Eve, and I count that into my January. The reason I count it is because in my city on the East Coast, the Lyft day technically starts at 5 a.m. So if I start driving at midnight and then I drive until 5 a.m., that's technically 2024. So I count it that way. I counted it that way the year before, and I'll probably keep counting it that way. If you think this is like number manipulation, I can understand why you think that way, but I would rather be upfront about how I'm doing my numbers and you disagree with it than for me to try to hide it and then it look more shady than it actually is. I don't care that much, but I do care to be transparent. So week one, $1,253, so day one, pretty much. The next day, next week, I didn't drive a lot this week. I don't really, it was a slow week. The first week of this year was really, really slow. Like December was slow, but man, this January was a very rough January compared to all the other Januaries that I've ever had. So $281 that next week, $1,144 between January 8th to January 14th. From January 15th to January 21st, $1,367.16. From January 22nd to January 28th, $239.55. Now the rest of this next week, it's partial February, partial January. I don't really think I drove 29th. So this must be all February, so we don't even have to really look at that. What I really like about Uber compared to Lyft is that I can see my weekly summaries in this nice little graph here. So nothing crazy. I don't consider my town to be a big Uber town, but there are instances where I can get a really good Uber ride. For example, like this was just one ride right here, maybe two. I think this was 2 rides over the course of 1 hour. So I averaged about $50 an hour that night, but the entire night wasn't as great as it was on Lyft. So something to consider. You should always be multi-apping. Don't get too caught up in running just one app. But you can see from January 1st, I made $99.91. From the January 1st to January 8th, $830. I think Uber was just great that week. January 8th to 15th, $14. January 15th to the 22nd, that's $30. And then January 29th to February, it's really February. I don't think I ran this in January. All right, so we see the raw numbers now. I take those numbers, I put them into my spreadsheet. The first thing I do is I actually track my own mileage. I'm not into the whole automated. I know there's a lot of apps that can do it for you. I feel closer to my business numbers when I'm putting in these values myself. So I put in my personal and my business, and I put in my start. But all of this is required to be IRS compliant. So if I ever get audited, I wanted to make sure that this could save my butt. So if there's a mistake here, I'd rather the mistake be mine. And there is a way you can get this. It is in my Patreon. It should be linked below if you're interested in grabbing it. But here's my total for January. $5,173.79. This does include a Lyft referral right here of $920. I'm going to keep it in there. Usually, I do this every week. Usually I will remove it, show you my numbers without it, and then put it in and show you my numbers again. But I really want to get to the next stage of this stream quickly. So we're going to keep moving. So I worked 125 hours and 20 minutes. When you break that down, that's $41.28 per hour. For mileage, I drove 3,940 miles and I made $1.31 per mile in January. That's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. So here are my expenses. I finally added all of my expenses for the month. I hope I didn't miss anything. I don't think I missed anything. So my expenses total was $1,019.31. If we work that out to a per hour basis, I spent $8.13 on expenses for every hour I worked, which is high. And I'll explain why it's higher than normal. So from a per mile perspective, my expenses per mile was 26 cents per mile, which is 40 cents cheaper than what the government thinks I make per mile. And that difference between the 67 cents and the 26 cents, that's all tax-free money because I'm keeping my expenses so low. So if you keep your actual expenses less than the tax rate, so let's say your tax rate is 10%, which is probably going to be higher than that, but 10% for easy numbers. If you keep your expenses less than 10% of 6.7, so it'd be 6.7, then that money is like tax-free. That's where we make our money as rideshare drivers. So if we're never able to claim our mileage, it's gonna suck to be a rideshare driver. But let's roll through the income sources. With Lyft, I made $3,144.52. I worked 92 hours and 20 minutes, which works out to a per hour average of $34.06. With Uber, I made $974.98, which works out to 31 hours and 45 minutes. So per hour, that's $30.71. And that first Lyft number I just gave you was without the referral. So I put the referral in its own line. So the Lyft referral was $920. I made $60 in cash. It's kind of low considering, but I did have I had people who tipped well, but I didn't have a lot of tippers. And some of it, of course, is through the app. I made $24.29 with Lyft Direct. So Lyft Direct is the Lyft debit card. So here it is for proof. Whenever I buy gas using my Lyft debit card, I get cash back, right? So I get cash back directly from Lyft, and I get cash back from Upside, but the Upside amount is deposited directly into my Lyft driver account, and separating that would be too difficult. I'd have to look through every single line for when they eventually reimburse me through Get Upside. But you should be using both Get Upside and Lyft or Uber debit card. Now, as a platinum Lyft driver, I'm a platinum Lyft driver, I get 7% cash back on all my gas purchases. And this is one of the main reasons why being a platinum driver is so important for me. And that's because gas is our biggest expense. Like I'll show you my spreadsheet, but gas will typically be your biggest expense. You might have a one-off large repair here or there, or if you have a car that's really expensive, that's not a great rideshare car, your car might be your biggest expense. But generally speaking, I made $25 just by buying gas that I would have bought otherwise. To fill my tank might cost me $30, $35, depending on how much gas is. So if I'm able to earn an extra gas tank, here's a better way to put it. If for every $10 I spend on gas, I can make about $100. This reward of $25 cash back will help me make $250. That's how I see it. I see it as potential money, and it's not as if you have to do something to do this. You just have to sign up and get it. So I definitely recommend signing up and get it through the Lyft app or Uber, whichever has the best percentage. I know Lyft just put out a new bonus tier, which we'll cover once I'm done going through my expenses. And 7% is no longer the highest. Now you can do up to 10%. So I'm gonna try to get the new bonus tier. It's gonna take some time. So I'm gonna make a video about it, break it down if it's worth it. But penny pinch. That's the season we're in. We need to be pinching everything. Every dollar matters, every penny matters. And then we have the Octopus tablet. So there's a free tablet that you can get anywhere in America, anyone in America that is a driver, where it's free to you. They'll send it to you for free. They give you money based off of how many rides you take and how many people interact with the tablet. So I made $50 in January with this tablet. If you don't believe me, I have proof somewhere. That's not the proof page. This is the proof page. So you can see my lifetime earnings right here for $250. But for January, you can see right here, I earned 25 points on the 8th of January, and then I earned another 250 points on the 27th of January, and it's $25 for every 250 points. So that's $50. And once you set it up in the back of your car, you just make sure it's always charged. And I clean it from time to time. But outside of that, it's very low risk, low maintenance. You're gonna get extra money. It's not a lot of money, right? $50 isn't a lot of money, but that's $500 worth of potential earnings of money for gas. So it's penny pinching. But it's so low of a hassle that I recommend everyone get it. And there is a referral program that anyone has access to. I have no special affiliation with this company. Anyone who signs up for this can get a referral link. And I'm going to put the referral link in the description of this video so that you guys can have access to it too. Everyone should have this. There's no excuse why you shouldn't have this. It's if you don't have this, it's because you're being lazy. It's free money. When I first had it, I worried about people stealing it, and sometimes I still do, but no one has stolen it yet. I have seen videos of people stealing other people's, but you know, there's obviously going to be videos of people stealing it, but that doesn't mean that that's a common thing. Drunk passengers love it. I received tips just because it's in my car. It lets you put in special information about yourself. Like people, I can put what my tips are going to go for, and I put that is going to go towards my wedding. I'm married now, but people, they read that stuff. And I always forget sometimes that it's there. It's like, they'll be like, oh, you're getting married? I'm like, yeah, how'd you know? But it shows the weather for the passengers. It has sports updates in there. The trivia is pretty good. Like one thing I was worried about is I'm able to talk myself into tips by having conversation. I was worried that the tablet would create less conversation between me and my passengers, but it's actually like, it's improved it, right? So there are ads on the tablet and, they'll do their trivia. It's like a minute and a half time trivia, and then they have to watch ads. And I found that while ads are playing, that's when they interact with you. Now, they might interact with you on the tablet. The tablet itself makes for a great icebreaker. So just get it. Just get it. And then if you don't like it, you can send it back for free. That's it. So I'll make sure I have those linked below, and then I'll start linking it in all of my past and future videos. So you'll be able to find the link in any of my videos if you forget to do it today. And then at the bottom, I have my offline time. I like to track the time that I spend working when I'm not on the app. The more numbers you have, the better decision making you can do. So if I'm out there and I'm repositioning myself to chase a bonus zone to be specific, then I'll turn my timer on my watch, and I'll track my offline time so that I'm not skewing my hourly rates. It's important for me to be as accurate to you and to myself so I can make the best decision making. I also put out a video where, last week when I kind of broke down the whole offline time versus online time, some of the other drivers in chat, in the live chat, they were, giving different opinions on it. And it's a really good video. You should really watch it. But no matter whose opinion, right? Some people have really good points, but no matter what they say, I still think it's always best to have more information than less information. All right, so this is just the breakdown of the dailies. I'm not gonna go through them. It's a waste of time. I will go through them for expenses. Well, not the dailies, but we're gonna go through my expenses. I have air for $6 total. I have a slow leak in one of my tires that I haven't fixed yet. Gas, I spent $381.53, which works out to $3 per hour for gas. See, isn't that a good metric to know how much you're spending on gas for every hour that you work? I think that's a great metric to be aware of. Maintenance, my check engine light came on. I brought it to Volkswagen and they charged me $170 for a diagnostic. I let them tell me what was wrong with it, and then I decided whether or not I wanted to fix it myself, and I'm gonna fix it myself. Oil change, $194.83. I had to buy things to do my very first oil change. So while this number looks really bad, it looks really expensive, Tristan, why are you spending so much on an oil change? That's because I had to buy things in order to do my own oil change. So let's jump back over to the spreadsheet. So I also put my car wash in there. I paid $20 a month for the car wash. I need to go more often to justify it. I think I went once. I'll probably go a lot more during pollen season, but I should be cleaning my car a lot more often. My insurance, oh man, insurance. Okay, I paid $205.57. All right, so we're back on the spreadsheet. License plates aren't mandatory for the front of your car. And I got tired of having signage in my windshield. So you need to have your license plate displayed in the front of your car to do airport pickups. And so I went in ahead and I bought a custom license plate with that matches the license plate I have in the back and the brackets for it. So the license plate itself was like $30. Pretty quick, got it through Amazon. And then the bracket was about $10-15. And I'm happy with it. It's definitely an unnecessary purchase because I was just using a piece of paper in my windshield before. A little bit of a splurge, but I did it, and here we are. So the last part of the spreadsheet that's really important is the tax part. And then once we're done with this, we'll look at what other drivers have made last week. For January, right, we have all my numbers in, all of my expenses. This part calculates how much money I truly walked away with after taxes, and expenses. So my mileage write-off. The mileage write-off is determined by how many miles I drove, multiplied by 67 cents, and it gives you $2,639. That's how much the write-off is. So when I subtract the write-off from the amount of money I made of $5,173, I'm left with a taxable income of $2,533. Now, that's not what I walked home with, right? My taxable income is going to be lower than the actual money I made because of the tax write-off. Like I said, the tax write-off is 67 cents, but you can see that my actual expenses right here is 26 cents. So just keep that in mind. I put an estimated tax rate of 10%. It might be higher than that. Once I do my taxes for 2023, I can calculate what my nominal tax rate was, and then I'll apply it here. So this can fluctuate, and if it does, I'll come back and I'll correct myself, of course. But my estimated taxes for January, even though I made over $5,000, is $253.40. My true net, right after we subtract taxes and expenses, is $3,901.08. So from that $5,000 I made, I literally walked home with $3,901.08. So that gives me a true hourly of $31.13 after taxes and expenses. I slacked on the total amount of money I should have made last month. I really wanted to make $8,000, not from TrueNet. I wanted to make $8,000 here, so I'm about $3,000 short from where I should be. Hopefully, I can get up off my butt and work more. So I struggle sometimes between wanting to work, wanting to make YouTube videos, and wanting to play games, to be honest. My life is very cheap right now, and to afford all my bills is about $1,200 a month at minimum. And I've intentionally made it that way. So sometimes when I hit the mark, I get a little lazy, but I need to go over the top. I'm trying to pay off $100,000 in debt. I paid off my car a couple months ago. It was a great feeling. Only thing that's left is student loans between me and my wife. And I really want to get those out of the way so that I can move to Vegas next year, so that I can start focusing on other dreams and aspirations that I have. My goal is to remove any financial block that prevents me from doing something. And so I need to step up. I need to put more hours in, and I need to be more consistent in my goals. So I already have some numbers in for February on my spreadsheet. We're not going to go through them specifically, but I want to show you is at the back of this spreadsheet is the summary page. And the summary page pulls from all the months, everything, and it calculates it all here. So, a couple months in, you want to see where you're at for the year. It's all here. All gets combined into here.